So, to briefly address the elephant in the room and a bit of talk that'll end up stuck on the front of whichever of these episodes ends up posting first. Yeah, we ended up running fewer episodes the back end of this year than I wanted to. If you watch for a while, I've heard the reasons before, and it's not really anything new. I've got more than one gig that divides my time. The YouTube algorithm changes all the time. Trying to balance making the channel still show up there versus delivering stuff people have come to expect is challenging, but also we seem to wind up in a space where covering the exact type of stuff and even topics we wanted to cover or were covering ended up being things that stretched on and on and on. Like, how many fucking Flashpoint, DCEU episodes did I even do over the last couple years? And now we're almost at the end of that fucking mess. Maybe, please. I think I ended up throwing out 5 or 6 near full episode scripts between the last one and right now, because every time I'd get to, okay, things seem to be stable for a bit, let's make a Flashpoint update or what should happen at DC update, and then news would come out like Ezra Miller just hijacked a plane to Candy Apple Island, or David Zaslav sold Westworld for a handful of magic beans. And then there's other times where I should cover this, but it's a downer and I don't want to, and I've got a backlog of reviews to get to instead. Fuck, I forgot to review Nope. Wow. And that sounds less mentally taxing, or those other projects I need to get further toward completion so I can actually show off what they are, so it sounds less like we're just making shit up. And hey, get the Patreon numbers climbing up again, cause things are tough all over, so if you can chip in or know anyone who'd like to chip in, by all means please be our guest. Regardless, yes, now that it's official, we should have a James Gunn at DC episode incoming. It's about time to do the obligatory Marvel Phase 4 thing, and I guess since I did an Elon show, we should probably talk about the Kanye of it all.
I'm done with the classifications. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler. The Holocaust is not what happened. Let's look at the facts of that. And Hitler has a lot of redeeming qualities.
Why would he do that?
He's a jackass.
There's a lot of things that I love about Hitler.
When they declare war, it's all out. They had to become the Black Gestapo.
But before all that, I feel like what people have asked me about most recently is why I didn't talk more about the Mario movie. Which, okay, fair. I've got something of a reputation as kind of a big Super Mario fan from way back, maybe even more so than other Nintendo Generation 80s kids. Over the years, I've had my share of opinions on the franchise in media, and whether or not or how they ought to put a movie together. I feel like it's really likely that we'll get a Mario movie within the next decade, and it'll probably be animated, which, okay, would be fine. It'll be fine. But I feel like that everything a little bit fanciful should just be animated default argument when it comes to video game movies misses that one of the main reasons to adapt a story or a character or a world to another medium is to take advantage of what that medium can offer to present said story in a new way. You really just have to answer basic questions. Why are the Koopas and the Mushroom People fighting? What does Bowser specifically hope to accomplish by kidnapping Princess Peach? For me, it's not even a question. You go with the 2 plumbers from Brooklyn origin. It explains the powers, i.e. differences in physics between different worlds, a la Superman's red sun, yellow sun thing. Not for nothing, movies about archetypally ordinary people becoming heroes after being unexpectedly deposited in a fantasy kingdom have some pretty solid history of being, pretty successful. I mean, I think a few of you recognize these images, right? Okay, yeah, she probably needs some work as a character. I know, it's easy to just say, have her be on the quest with them, but then why are they on the quest to begin with? Do you really want the Mario movie to be one of those assembly line, nut job, open season trolls, Romeo and Juliet, every Ice Age after the second one things, where the main creative decisions were which of the Koopalings should sound like Kevin Hart and which one should sound like Sheldon, or whether the Shy Guys or the Toads are better positioned to be our answer to the fucking Minions? Didn't think so. Since Universal is building the Nintendo theme park, Nintendo has decided to trust them to make the first Nintendo movie since the failed Mario Bros. Movie in the 90s, excluding the Pokemon movies, and that Animal Crossing anime they didn't bother to release outside of Japan. Now look, I don't really have anything against Illumination per se. They're a decent enough studio, they employ a lot of talented people, and I actually thought Sing was a pretty great movie. In processing this, what I find myself grappling with is whether or not hoping to see this particular property ever become a great film is being unrealistic on my part. Do I honestly believe there's something greater to be found in there among the pixels? I mean, my headcanon still defaults to the brothers from Brooklyn thing, and even if it was sort of the default official backstory from the 80s to the early 90s, at least in the West, it hasn't been for a while. Beyond that, for as many characters as there are and as many self-contained story digressions get played out in the Mario RPG installment, it's possible that even though the games themselves are timeless classics, being one of those disposable biannual animated comedy franchises full of dopey comedy and clunky references that mainly exist because you can sell twice as many tickets because kids have to bring a parent or their friends is where the Mario franchise belongs as a movie property. Yeah, that's a possibility worth considering, introspection and all that, but I still don't completely buy it. And if one of the most moving scenes in a movie this past year can be centered on Rocket Raccoon, I'm not going to stop maintaining that the Mario universe probably deserves better than it's going to get from a studio whose best movie is about animals doing cover songs. Yeah, so I was both, I think, kind of surprisingly right about this, and also kind of weirdly bitter. I should also probably put those episodes together and do a compilation as well. Probably end up doing that now that I think on it. Especially about doing his animation, which I stress I have the opposite of a problem with as a medium. I was just kind of hoping they'd try it with live actors again, because to me that feels like the more interesting filmmaking challenge, or maybe if they'd gone with a more distinct animation design style than what all the games have looked like in the past 20 years. But I'm not going to give them shit going with the Nintendo house style when the theme park is coming up. I mean, that's kind of obviously what they were going to do, and just look how weird people are already being about the extremely minor changes they've made to the character designs to, I would imagine, make everyone just a little bit more expressive, or line up with where the actors took the voice performances. So as it goes now, there's trailers and posters, and this really is finally coming out, and look, objectivity was always going to be somewhat impossible one way or another here. I think it looks good. Fine? Better than fine, yeah. I mean, it looks so much like exactly what you'd expect. I feel like it's hard to be really blown away by just the existence of any of it, but on the other hand, you've heard me say for years that at least two things a Mario movie could do that'd get me totally on board would be to have the Tanuki suit on screen or go back to the Brooklyn origin, and I guess we're doing both of those things.
No words. No words. To describe. Poetry. They should have said the poet. So beautiful.
So, I'm a man of my word. Alright, let's do this. As far as the rest of it goes, I think it looks cool. Yeah, Charlie Day, Seth Rogen, and Jack Black are all inspired casting for Luigi, Donkey Kong, and Bowser. I think the Kongs are going to be a breakout thing here. It's a whole race of comedy monkeys. People love monkeys. It's just an easy call that Nintendo has never really properly seized on for whatever reason. Luigi being the guy that needs rescuing, so it's Mario and Peach on the quest is a fun way to solve the damsel in distress thing and keep the characters distinct between the two brothers. I would say Anya Taylor-Joy is pretty much ideally cast as literally the woman millions of men my age have been looking for their entire lives, so good job there. And giving Princess Peach action hero stuff to do may be an easy decision, but it's still a good decision overall. And frankly, I don't really have an issue with Chris Pratt's voice so far. It's different from Charles Martinet's voice from the game, but his version was never really made to deliver full sentences or a full movie performance or even deliver actual English lines, as opposed to Italian-ish gibberish in a video game. And you can hear Pratt doing a guy from New York thing with it. I was hoping for a less recognizable, more Italian guy sounding thing, but again, it sounds fine to me so far. It'll work. The thing is, on one hand, I'm not jumping up and down nuts about it. Not because there's anything wrong with it. It looks cool, but I guess because it looks like a Mario movie aimed at an audience of kids and young adults who've come into being fans of the games over the last 20 years of them, rather than being a big dopamine nostalgia button thing for 40-year-old Nintendo fan gamers like me, and that's kind of how it should be, especially since it's a kids movie. Whereas, yeah, I bet something that was more inside baseball, retro gamer references, obscure Mario lore would have me paying more attention, but probably wouldn't be tracking as big with, like, my niece and nephew, who are both very excited for this. That's appropriate. That's where this should be. Maybe there will be more to say about it when it finally actually comes out or there's more trailers, but for now, yeah, that's what I've got for that. Mario movie. Looks decent. I hope it's good. I'm Bob, and that's the big picture.